Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is going to be an interesting conversation today. Not 100% sure where we're going to, I'm not even sure where we're going to start, let alone where we're going to
Yeah.
end up. But here's what I've got for you today. I've got the two gentlemen you see on your screen. I've got Chris Rice and Vincent Son. They're from Rize. Vincent being co-founder and chief revenue officer, Chris being enterprise sales guru extraordinaire or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
And there's a little bit of a weird situation because you guys have a company called Rize. If I wanted to come to you today with my checkbook open and buy something from you, it's not for sale quite yet. So why don't you tell me what Rize is going to be when it launches here in the near future? And then we're going to do a cannonball into the AI pool because I want to make sure I'm not burying the lead here for everybody listening. These guys in this company is at the forefront of AI. Obviously, it's very topical. There's a million people talking about it, but we're going to get into it on a different level than I think you're used to hearing it. So why don't you go ahead and tell us the one thing, what Rise is, what we can expect it to be when it becomes available, and then we're going to jump
Yeah.
into this AI pool.
Yeah. So appreciate everyone's attention. Rise is Home Improvement's AI growth engine. So what is a growth engine really? And really, we help companies of typically folks that are much larger spot trends in their business, assign and route reps. So these are sales reps, for example, and also get on-demand insights on whatever sort of data that they throw at our system, along with doing some of the coaching that you typically see across the call center and also in-home sales. So you can think of virtual ride-alongs or call center coaching as an AI application that we serve broadly for all of our folks that we've partnered up with. And our agents or AI employees, so to speak, work everywhere. So you don't have to replace anything. We work with your existing technology. And like Rich wrote me a letter when we first met at Fast Remodeler, we're the glue that sort of connects everything together, and you're able to really get insights and answers out of your entire business. And we're specifically focused on home improvement. We're not going anywhere else. And that's why we're here and trying to make bridges with all the folks, whether it's Brian Elias to Brian Gottlieb, all the Brians out there, to Paul Burleson and incredible folks like Rich that help really contractors figure out how do I just make my life easier when it comes to the back office and run my business more efficient. So that's what we're about in a
Yeah.
nutshell.
And I'll just chime in on that, Rich. I mean, I've been with Rise since about March now. And my background is I was with Improver 360 for 6 years. So I've sold, I guess, what you'd call some of the legacy technologies in the CRM space. Obviously, they've changed a lot since then. But what impressed me with Vincent and also Albert, the other co-founder, is these guys have put in their time. I did some research, of course, on them before I joined the team. As I started talking to them, I said, "Hey, what do you know about these guys?" Called friends like Tim Mush, people like that, who've been around. He's like, "No, these guys are onto something. They're really sharp, and they're spending time doing their homework." And that's what really impressed me. Is the as you mentioned it before we got on the air here, the commitment to the marketplace before they even had a product. They really wanted to understand the market before just throwing something at it and seeing what happens. Yeah, we're smart. We know AI. We know technology. Let's just go into this market and do something. They didn't do that. They've been really methodical and building, and really the thought process behind everything is like nothing I've ever experienced before. And it's really amazing. And yeah, we're super excited to be at that point where we will have something coming out to the market, a little bit in a couple of months.
Okay, spoken like true enterprise sales guru. Getting
Guru,
ready.
exactly. And an
Okay.
absolute novice in AI. And so that's been a lot of my time where it's been spent is trying to understand what the hell it is. And Vincent, I call him, he's my AI mentor, has been unbelievably patient for one, but also just a great teacher.
Okay, so I'm gonna start this conversation by giving you I'm kind of what I would consider the everyman when it comes to AI. Um, when I say everyman, I mean I'm gonna represent the listener of this podcast, and I'm gonna give you a brief history of AI as I see it. Okay, again, this is coming from the everyman perspective.
Hmm.
Vincent, I'm sure that you could throw a flag and say, "Whoa, whoa, you're missing a million parts out of a million and one parts." But that's kind of the point, okay? Because I want to make sure that we're approaching this from an angle that is relatable for normal people. So, from my perspective, if you go back 3 or 4 years, AI was just this random concept that you've just heard going back as far as the Terminator movies and stuff like that. And it really had no real world practical thing. That all changed for normal people like me when ChatGPT came out. I know they had some versions before the one that they really launched and kind of blew things up. And then everybody had a chance to go, okay, ChatGPT, this is kind of interesting. But, compared to now, particularly, that first version was pretty lightweight in terms of its limitations. So it put it on everybody's radar. Then after that, so that was, how long ago was that, Vincent? Maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago now that the
Yeah, two
ChatGPT
years.
launched? 2 years. Yeah, seems like 5 years ago. It's been
Yeah, it
around so
does.
I
long.
know.
Okay, so we got 2 years ago. Then here's the next thing that started happening, and I'll skip over to this industry specifically. You started seeing tools coming out that were AI oriented, and it started becoming difficult to the lines were blurry between what was actually AI versus what was just automation.
Hmm.
I'm not sure that the distinction is necessarily all that important as long as the tool in question does its job. But we started seeing the things like I remember having a conversation with one of my clients about Rilla Voice, and they said, "Here's kind of what it does." And they just swore by it. They're like, "Man, this has made a huge impact on our business." I was like, "Well, I need to figure out what Rilla Voice is." I ended up doing a podcast
Hmm.
with those folks, and I went, "Oh, this is really cool." Then we started seeing all of the agents that were doing call follow-ups, text follow-ups.
Yep.
I remember working with Hatch as long ago as maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and then Structurally came out to just name drop a few tools.
Yeah.
There's many more, obviously, and it was like, hey, it's like Hatch, except it actually uses AI, and I did the demo. Okay, I'm getting very close to throwing this over to you. Okay, so thank you for
No,
indulging
go,
this
go.
sort of background. So now we're at a point where AI is everywhere, not just within the industry, but I'm a pretty careful follower of Tesla for a lot of different reasons,
Mhm.
not the least of which is I'm an investor. I'm a big believer in Elon and autonomous driving. But within the industry, it seems like it feels like a bunch of tools came on board in the last 1 to 2 years, and it seems like we're kind of stuck there now. And I perceive what you're going to do is make AI really usable for a lot of companies. And I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'm going to officially throw it to you. I look at my own business, and I've decided this in the last 90 days. There's so many different things that I perceive that we need to use AI for. I can see the applications, and I'll bet you if I talk to you, Vincent, for let's say an hour just one on one about my business, it would probably become clear that the AI applications that I see is probably something like a third or a half of what's actually needed in my business.
Hmm.
But I'm stuck now a little bit because, like, okay, even the applications that I do see, I understand that AI can massively help us, but I don't know how to go about doing them. I don't know how to make it happen. And I'm at a point now in my business where it's like, okay, I need to go hire somebody who specifically is an expert at AI that can take the projects that we need to do, prioritize them, quarterback them, work with whatever other tools or processes need to come into the fold, and make sure that the things that I don't see get done. Okay, so that's where I see AI now. It's from I didn't even really know it was a thing besides Terminator movies to ChatGPT to a bunch of tools to now it's clear that I need this desperately in multiple domains within my business, but I don't know how to approach it. Go.
Yeah. So let's take a step back. And um, you mentioned so many great AI vendors that contractors currently can sign up for and use, like a Rilla, like a Structurally. Um, I think what we've seen so far is when you visit these conferences like you and I have been to, Dave Yoho's conferences, qualified remodelers conferences, and you see what some of the most ambitious and accomplished home improvement leaders are using, what you get a taste of after talking to them about what they're using as part of their tech stack. A tech stack, as I define it, is really just all the different technology, software tools that you're
Yeah.
using to run your business, like a QuickBooks, like an Improve It 360, or whatever it is that you lead perfection. And you talk to them about what problems that they encounter using them, and what we've seen, and you can see just by visiting a lot of these conferences, is that now you're seeing so many different vendors pitch you, AI applied to this part of your business, the call
Hmm.
center, AI applied to, your in-home sales appointments, like a Rilla or a Zero. And I think the bigger question here, which you got to just now, is, all right, I get it. I get it, guys. AI is really useful. How do I apply it everywhere in my business? All right. So much so that you're feeling like I just need to hire someone that's just focused on applying
Yeah.
AI everywhere in my business. But the big barrier that people encounter is the fact that there's a huge integration issue. It's the fact that you are using so many different things, and you need basically to hire a human almost to be that integrator of sorts.
Quarterback.
You
Yeah.
quarterback it,
Yeah.
yeah, across all the different software tools that you use. And I'm not just talking about the accounting software, the CRM software, but what about email? What about all the different lead cost spreadsheets that you receive from your lead vendors? What about the portals that you visit to check up on certain things? There's all these things that you do currently on your laptop or on the phone that requires almost like, yeah, you'd be like, I kind of want to hire someone in the Philippines to just kind of be my executive assistant and
Yeah.
do a lot of these things and quarterback it for me. And I think like that's really what we see as the opportunity, particularly that you said, hey, like it seems like Rize is trying to make AI more accessible and useful for everyone in the industry. And I think that's right. I think we've made a lot of
Hmm.
observations where the AI really needs to be able to have full context of all the tools that you're using, and is able to be like a conductor in a symphony or orchestra, and be able to actually act as an assistant that accesses all these different things and is able to deliver you not just like a experience like people are used to on ChatGPT, where they ask a question and it's great at looking up the internet, but it's not really great at looking up your business information. That's all buried in all these different tools. And so we focused on home improvement to really solve that particular problem of what you're looking for, but you just need a little bit of help getting that information into the context and memory of an AI assistant. And at the same time, you want to apply AI everywhere. So
Right.
you want to take a look at, hey, how can I have an AI, let's say, data analyst? That's the first thing, right? Imagine if every home improvement company, whether you're small or large, just has as many data analysts doing many different tasks for you as you want. At the same
Yeah.
time, it's, hey, I want an AI sales manager. Especially if you're smaller and you're starting to grow a lot bigger. Maybe you're going from 6 million to trying to hit 12 million or whatever it is. You're starting to look at, all right, like how do I manage my sales reps
So
better, and how do I deploy
let me ask you a question.
smarter? Yeah.
Let me tell you what my problem is. And look, I'm a marketing agency. I'm not a window or roofing company or something like that. So
Hmm.
there may be some differences, but I think fundamentally the challenges as it relates to AI are either the same or at least very, very similar. So here's a big challenge that I have, and maybe you can address how to deal with this. It's recognizing I'm good at recognizing things that I know AI can help with, and I'm not good at knowing how to get it done. Let me give you a couple very specific examples. Specific example number one, we generate a lot of leads for our clients. Well,
Mhm.
within that lead generation um, part of our business, there's a lot of data that's being generated that I need AI to go in and crunch the numbers, figure out where the optimizations are, and then report. So for example, this is something we're actively working on right now is creating a daily email report that comes to both our project managers and our clients that says, here's what happened, let's say with your either pay-per-click or Facebook advertising or OTT or SEO. Here's what happened yesterday. Here's what happened over the last 7 days. Here's what happened over the last 30 days. Here's what happened over the last year. Four different buckets of reporting that come to an email on a daily basis says, here's what's happening so that anybody who's a stakeholder, whether it be the client themselves or our internal people who are managing those clients, can look at this and go, okay, without having to go log into anything, without having to sort through dashboards that we currently hold this information, I've got
Right.
an AI agent that is finding the stuff that I want, compiling it into a readable format, emailing it on the daily. Yeah. Like, so
We
how
were
do
just
you,
talking about this yesterday, Rich. I
how do
mean,
you
this is
set that
something that
up?
Vincent and I, yeah, I mean, and think about your customers though. When you think about the companies you're talking about, that you're not the only lead vendor they use, probably.
Correct.
So if everybody said, "Oh, I have a great idea. I'm going to put together an email that covers today, yesterday, the last 7 days, last year." Okay, now they've got 30 emails coming to them. This is where the opportunity lies. Okay, what if somebody can aggregate all of that data and analyze it for you and put that into one spot and see,
That
okay,
would be
what's
great.
trending?
That would be
I
great.
mean,
I mean, from the
that's what
client
we're looking at.
standpoint, from my standpoint, I at least want to aggregate what I'm doing on behalf of my
Yeah.
Right.
clients. So now let me give you number two, and then Vincent, I want to get your take on how to do this because
Mhm.
really what I'm talking about is how to create AI agents.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's easy to
Yeah.
go purchase a subscription to Zero, which I guess on some level, would that be considered an AI agent in your opinion or not?
Um,
Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the main thing that Zero and Rilla provide is the fact that they have a mobile application that's on the field that actually records these things. And then the transcription and analysis really is just classic, generative AI that you can get out
Okay.
of
So
ChatGPT and stuff like
I
that.
guess my question then becomes, how do you create AI agents? I'm going to give you application number two. I just gave you one, which was aggregating data and reporting it via email to stakeholders. The second one, and by the way, this example I'm about to give you is indicative of about 7 thoughts per day I have. Okay. And I'm working with my video podcast team who helps me produce video podcasts. We create shorts. We post those on social media, etc. Then it dawned on me, I could just take this YouTube video that we just uploaded. It's 20 minutes long. If I upload this to Gemini, it can. Here's what I asked it to do. Hey, Gemini, give me 10 tweets from the content of this that I can send out. And then it gave me the 10 tweets. Then I went, okay, I need to train you on how I talk. So I uploaded my book. I
Yep.
uploaded a secondary book that I've written, and it goes, okay, now I know how you talk. Okay, now give me the same 10 tweets again. And it gave them to me. They were much more powerful. It sounded much more like me. And then I said, take it to 11. And it said, okay, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. So now they're like kind of in your face. They're punching you in the face. And okay, so all of that to say this. Okay, how can I create an agent that just automatically goes to new videos that are uploaded, automatically scrapes it for the content, puts it into my voice, as many tweets as make sense, and then loads those tweets into the automated software. Like this is the kind of thing that I'm trying to do. Look, I can hire a person to do that all day long. No problem.
Hmm.
I'd rather have a freaking agent just freaking do it
Yeah.
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 because
Yeah.
I learned this from my dad. Cheap is good, free is better.
That's right. Yeah, what you described, and I think it's good to probably define what an AI agent really is, and
Yeah,
it's
let's do that.
it's really just um, the difference between, let's say, what analysis is versus like an AI agent is the agent actually takes action for you, right? It actually does
Mhm.
something for you. When most of your audience and also you are familiar with a company called Zapier, right? A
Yep.
lot of people use, or Zapier, whatever you call it, and a lot of people can think of kind of the workflow of an automation where it does this thing, maybe it logs into something like you were describing, and then it browses for some sort of information. It collects that, and then maybe it then summarizes it, and then it puts that into email, drafts an email, then sends that email to this particular um, client list.
Yep.
And so that's like a workflow. And I
That's an
think that's the
automation, right?
biggest, yeah. And I think for a lot of people, when you talk about AI, they kind of lose their brains a little. It's like all of a sudden they're thinking about a lot of different things. But if you just dumb it down to just, hey, an AI agent is really just an automation. It's an automated workflow,
Mhm.
right? Anything that you do manually today, if you were to show that to an intern, let's say that's watching over your shoulders, and you tell it to basically replicate what I'm doing right now, that is basically what an AI agent will be able to do. I think to speak more practically, currently there are a few, I would say, companies that are helping you do some of the automations that you're thinking of. I'll suggest. I think there's a company called Lindy. There's a company called
Mhm.
Motion, but there are companies that are trying to create this easy way for you to build an AI agent, and it looks very similar to Zapier. So if you're familiar with Zapier, that's kind of how you build an AI agent. It's just that it's no longer um, a prescription. You can describe things. So you don't actually have to, let's say, specifically go, hey, you have to
Automation
click
for
on this
dummies.
email. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's smarter than what the machine, which used to not be able to understand English, right? It's smarter. It actually knows English, understands it, and it's able to understand sort of what the gist of what you want it to do. And you no longer have to go through the drop down menus and the
Mhm.
dashboards and all that kind of stuff. It clicks around for you, it types for you, it takes action for you. And we just saw ChatGPT recently partner up with companies like Shopify, so that at some
Yep.
point, you're talking to an AI agent, and or you're talking with ChatGPT, and you're able to just buy products there, right? And
You just go.
it's logging in for you and
I mean,
paying for
it's
you
a
and all
lot
that
of
kind of
this,
stuff.
Rich, I think I personally, I mean, Vincent and Albert never told me this, but I've kind of figured it out, is that part of the reason they hired me was to be the witness test. If Chris can do it, anybody can do it. And that's what we're focused on, because you're the everyman, I'm the no man. Like, I came into this like, no, I don't know anything. So think about when you hire a new employee. So I really like the idea, and Vincent's been doing this on, for the past couple of weeks, talking about employees versus agents. These AI employees that we bring on. I mean, when you hire a new employee, what do you do? If I want to show them how to do something, hey, come here, look at this. I go on my computer, I show them exactly
Yep.
what, here's how you do, here's where you find this, click here, add this, follow this,
Yep.
log in here,
If you're really
all of
good, you
that. And I show
create a
them.
video so the next guy can watch it without having
Yeah.
to do
Or
it
you
again.
create a video so they could watch it. What if you can do that and then they remember it? The problem is then they forget it and they come back to you and say, oh, I forgot that step. I forgot that step. What if you don't have to do that? I mean, these are things that are coming, I guess you could
Yeah,
say,
and
and that are
I like to
possible that really make it easy.
yeah, I'd like to highlight the easiness, because it's not that you can't do it today. You can hire someone, but the fact is that because it's an AI agent, it's going to do that as prescribed, as whatever your SOP is, whatever your standard operating procedures is. That's what an automation does, right?
So,
It's just going to work like clockwork.
so you guys are going to be working with enterprise clients, some of the bigger boys, so to speak, in the industry. which is awesome. I got it. I want to talk though more about the smaller companies, maybe the $2 to $10 million company, some maybe
Yep.
even as high as $20 million companies. Here's the problem. It's the same problem that I just discussed. So I'm gonna throw a very specific question at you. And the problem, to just reiterate before I throw the question at you, is uh, I know there's a lot of stuff, including SaaS subscriptions that I can get for the various things like we just talked about. Also, I need to build agents. But the problem is, yeah, Zapier, got it. I couldn't use Zapier to save my God-given life. If somebody walked in with a gun right now and said, "Okay, I need you to
I'm
set
with
up a
you.
Zapier," I'd be like, "Just shoot me. It's over." I don't have no idea how to do this, and I don't think
Yep.
I'm all that unique in that regard. Again, from the everyman perspective. So here's the specific
Yeah.
question: do you believe that a company of, let's say, 2 to 10 or $20 million in the home improvement business needs to have a person on staff whose major and main focus is AI and automation integration?
Personally, I don't think so. I think the burden responsibility of making AI intuitive is on vendors like ourselves. I just think that software really hasn't been able to fulfill its promise for the past decade or two. And you had all this marketing speak of, you can set this up and do all these things, and all of a sudden your revenue goes up, your close rates increase, and ticket price sizes increase. But then you realize, oh, wait, actually, I need someone managing this. And the software doesn't work out of the box as easily as I want it to. And we need to like integrate these things. And this integration doesn't work very well. It doesn't do exactly what we want it to do.
Well, I that
And
that's one thing I
so,
want to hit. Like, let's talk about the integration fallacy. I mean, I've been dealing with this my whole software career. Anyone can say, "Oh, we integrate with that." And what's the how do you measure that? Like, what do you mean by integration? Oh, we pass one field. QuickBooks being the prime example. I mean, I've dealt with this in different industries, not just home improvement, but in other industries too. Oh, yeah, we integrate with QuickBooks. What do? We pass one field. We call that an integration. It's not saving anyone any time. It's not leveraging the power of what integration can be. And that's something I think there's a huge opportunity with AI to help solve that, because integrations have just been whatever you
Well,
want it to be.
yeah, I agree with you on that. Everybody does say they can integrate, but there's still this core problem, okay? And Vincent, I want you to take another stab at this, because I asked you a pointed question and you said, no, I don't think so. I think it's on the vendors to make it intuitive. So I think that's a good answer. Uh, but I also have this problem still. So would you agree with me that we have several SaaS products in this industry, Rilla and Zero just being two that we've been talking about, kind of, that are, make a good example of, yeah, these are intuitive, easy to use softwares that are delivering on their promise. Would you agree with that? Because that's my perception
um,
of them.
I agree that they deliver on their promise, but I would say in particular for the vendors that you're mentioning, they require someone on staff to be trained
Okay.
exactly to handle that kind of stuff.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if the two, and I'm kind of using those two interchangeably. I'm a little bit partial to Zero, but I think they're both good products. The
Yeah.
Mhm.
two that I just named, that in my uninformed opinion seem to be two of the better softwares that serve the industry and are delivering on the promise, yet they still need this person to integrate, which was the question I asked. Do companies need a person who's the chief integration officer? Because even if these softwares do deliver even better than they currently do on their promise and integration, which you were hinting at, and maybe you weren't even hinting, you were kind of saying it directly, it's like, they could probably be better. Here comes the next level problem. Okay, great. What's the average number of tech stack products for a 10 or $20 million company in the industry? It's got to be minimum 10, probably more like 15 or
Yeah.
20, possibly more than that. Let's say 15 or 20. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah. Yeah. That
Okay,
sounds
so
right.
I would
how in
agree.
the
Yeah.
hell am I supposed to deal with that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're taking a stab at multiple different levels, because it is a
Even if
more,
they're all
it's,
integratively awesome, I still have all of
yeah.
them to figure out how to work together.
It's
right?
a big question, right? I think it is the question because most of the home improvement market are small contractors, and just because we focus on the large ones doesn't mean we forget about that, right? That is most for us. The small contractor is vital to the American industry, is vital to the entire market as a vendor from a technology perspective. What we've seen is that they look. I've talked to some folks that are growing from 3 to let's say 5 million. I think the things that we've seen so far is just like how much the I'm not going to call out any specific brand,
Yeah,
but
that's
just
fine.
how much the platforms like the CRMs, let's say, have really failed the customer, the contractors. Think about all the platforms in the industry. Um, they are all owned by private equity. They don't have an AI strategy. They don't do the job that typically a platform should be doing, which is the integration issue that we're talking about. Um, and it's tough to see also that people make haphazard decisions around choosing a particular CRM
Whoa, whoa.
because
I would challenge the word haphazard. It's called I'm doing the best I can, but there's so much things to choose from that how would I
Yeah.
possibly know?
And I can speak to that from selling it for so long, especially, we're dealing with those companies. We got to a point where, you know, I think, we did a nice job when we had, Market Sharp and Improvement 360 under the same umbrella. We were really able to differentiate the Market Sharp for the smaller business, then moving into Improvement 360. And, we had a conversation a few weeks ago with the godfather of home improvement CRM, Tim Mush. And, Tim, we even said it, he and I, we competed for years and, became colleagues, which was awesome. But we talk about the CRMs really created this sprawl because they didn't address a lot of these things like I think it started with estimating was a big one, measurements, things like that. That really, in a perfect world, the CRM would have handled them, and they would have been all in part of that. But they didn't. So it opened up the opportunity for all these different point solutions,
Well,
and that has
isn't that
continued.
inevitably where we're headed? Like this is like cable all over again. The promise of streaming was, oh, you don't have to have cable and pay for all this crap you don't want. And then it split into, everybody knows this
But
story. I'm not going to repeat it. So
it,
it seems to me like the inevitable place where we end up is that all of the softwares that do all of the different things start slowly adding the other people's uh, uh, functionalities to where at some point there's like five big behemoths that all do everything. And then you just choose which of those five you want.
Well, or that, or you think about it, Rich, and we had a conversation last week on this one. You know, a lot of one of our beliefs is that the UI is going away. I mean, there are going to be certain roles. Yes, you have the call center, they have to enter information, lead entry. But really, after that, it almost comes down to, I mean, look at ChatGPT doesn't have a lot of interface, does it? It's a box. That's part of what we're seeing in the future. It could just be, I have a question. I want to know what's happening. I just ask the question and I
Okay.
get the answer. Do I
So we need to
need
back
all
up
of this
though.
other stuff?
I pushed us to this behemoth five companies that have products that do everything. That I'll be shocked if that's not the future 2 to 5 years from now. But right now we're not there. So here's what I need to know. Again, I'm going to ask the question for the third time. How do I deal with this? How do I deal with the multiple platforms that perhaps integrate, perhaps don't? Maybe they're better or worse than others, but regardless, I don't know how to get them to all work together. I don't even know if I have the right tech stack. I don't know what I'm missing. I don't know what I have that's too much. How do I deal with this? Help me, Vincent. Help.
go to Dave Yoho's events, go to Qualified Remodels events, go to Level 10's events,
You know what
go to
though?
folks.
But see, I reject that as a solution
Yeah.
because
Well,
I
I'll tell
I've
you
been to
what
all these
how we
events and
do
I
it.
hold these events.
Yeah.
Let me give you an idea. I held an event 2 weeks ago in Philadelphia, and
Hmm.
part of what I attempted to do was instead of inviting every software sponsor, I only invited one from each industry, and it was stuff that I knew people needed, and I wanted to give stage time to these folks to say, look, you need this, here's how it works.
Hmm.
And I think I did like, I think I would give myself like a D plus or a C minus on how well I did at that. And I was trying to do that. I go to other, look, I'm not saying anything bad about any other conferences. It's just not
Hmm.
their fault. It's like, okay, we're going to have these guys come in and talk, and everybody's got their own agenda. Everybody's trying to sell something. So now we're just back to this. Everybody's trying to sell crap. I don't know who to believe. I don't know what I need. And after I buy it, even if I did make the best decision possible, I'm still stuck with the question, now, how do I deal with all of this stuff?
Rich, Rich, I'm going to answer
How
your
we deal with
question
it is,
without any
yeah.
technology, which what I've seen from talking to people like Brian Gottlieb, what really got Tundraland to the successful outcome that they had was the fact that he got into a best practice group with a bunch of his peers when they were still smaller and they were growing together. And, that like there is like, unfortunately, if I were to say very genuinely that Rize solves this problem, just wait for us. We'll be launching at Dave Yoho and also Qualified Remodelers Top 500 Live. Like that would feel disingenuous. So I don't want to like just push that agenda. I think the big thing here is that look at what if I'm a contractor, I would look at what my peers are doing, folks that are just a little bit that have grown a little bit more than where I am. Go do a visit, figure out some time so that you can actually visit their offices, which we've done too. As the technology vendors, we've been fly on the walls in people's call centers, watching them actually dial, watching them actually do the work, and take a look at how it's actually done. Because unfortunately, the hard the reason we haven't been able to directly address your question is because it's not a one size fits all currently. I think what you've talked about is, hey, don't you agree that like Rilla or Zero have been fairly intuitive and easy to use for contractors? And I think what is really interesting is that, yes, what was the manual process before? A sales manager would have to instruct their reps to manually
Right.
record on their iPhones.
Clearly, it's better
then they
than
would
what
listen
used to
through it.
exist. It's a computer database
Exactly.
versus a card, from the CRM days,
Yeah.
right? Got it.
Yeah. They would have to listen through all those recordings and then all that kind of stuff, right? And so that's and I think like that is a.
So give me the
I
but
bring
though.
up that
But
example.
what?
That is a great example of what AI does. It makes things accessible, easy to understand. You don't need to go into Zapier. You also mentioned, hey, like I don't even know how to use Zapier. You don't need to. I think the big thing is that, just like you said, if you can record a video of what you're doing manually and then just send it to the AI assistant and say, hey, can you do this for me?
Do this.
This is not a future thing that we're headed towards. This is something that I can say definitively from us working on this problem that we are actually doing. And it is a thing that people can expect very soon.
So
I
you're
think,
solving this
Rich, I will
problem.
get back to one thing of your question is you talk about, do you need somebody on staff to be your AI manager, quarterback, whatever it is? And I don't know if you necessarily need that, but you definitely need somebody who's in charge of your software stack. I think you need somebody who's championing. I mean, that's something we saw with, again, selling Improvement 360, my experience. The only implementations that were successful were the companies that had somebody who took ownership of that system. And that means they have to take ownership of everything that integrates with that system. And the CRM is the center of it all. So yes, you do need somebody who is going to be solely responsible for that and then helping to make sure that software is implemented properly. That I am a 100% believer in. And I think that with everything that's coming, I think being able to wrap AI around the business and around the software, and instead the CRMs are the one area that there's not a lot of AI in there. And that's something that I think there's an opportunity. And that's where, we can come in again, extracting that data and data from other systems and getting it to all actually work together is going to be really interesting to see.
Okay. So if I'm still trying to untangle this. If I understand you correctly, Chris and Vincent, you're saying that Rise is essentially going to solve the problem that I'm over here relentlessly whining about. Uh, but my big beef with you guys is okay, but it's for bigger companies, which is awesome. And I'm very excited for
Well,
you
we have
and
to
for your
solve, if we
clients.
could solve the problems for the biggest, the most complex problems, the most complex companies, it's going to make it a heck of a lot easier than solve problems for smaller companies. That's our philosophy. It's start there and then get that down and then be able to bring it down to the market, to the rest of the marketplace. Because I agree, there's a tremendous benefit for anybody in this market with AI.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let's shift gears here. If I asked you, Vincent, Chris, uh, list for me the top 20 tech stack elements that a remodeling company needs, can you give me the list?
Yeah. So I
So
would
like
say maybe
CRM is
not
going to be
20.
number one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not 20, but you definitely need a dialer, right? You need some sort of like Ring Central or 5.9. A lot of people use 5.9 for the click to dial. Um, you definitely need a CRM. So whether that's a Lead Perfection for the smaller folks or an Improve It 360 or Salesforce for the larger folks. Um, and then I would say you need an estimation tool. The most popular one is Leap, but we love the Paradigm Vendo folks. Um, and
One click.
you have to, yeah,
And
one click
one click is another
contractor
one.
as
Yeah.
well. And typically, if you're small, what we've seen is that you just really need an estimator. Like if you're really small, you just need an estimator. And then you graduate towards building out, CRM and dialer because now you have a call center and all that kind of stuff. And then you also start off with, QuickBooks, something to help you with your accounting. And then something like ADP, right, to do payroll. And then anything with like sales commissioning and all that kind of stuff, you can do sort of in spreadsheets on Google Sheets or Excel. I would say like that covers broadly what you need. Those are kind of like the four things that are the most important. Everything else on top is optimization. Think of them as
Well,
ways for
but
you.
I mean, there's a ton of things that maybe you included these, but so we do have the sales ride along you didn't mention. That
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
like an
So
important one.
But again, as you scale,
so as
Yeah.
you
yeah.
like
I
as you
want to know
scale,
what the $10 million company needs. That's what I want to know.
yeah, I think
You're going to
as
need
you
a call
scale
center.
there,
You're going to need a call center automation software.
yeah, that's right. So I think as you scale, you might have things around, active prospect, right, for compliance. You might have things like scheduling, this particular sort of AI scheduling companies, like maybe Structurally or Heavyset or something like that. You might have presentation
Hat
software, right?
or
You have
yeah,
Engage, you have
engage.
Hover, you have First Call Closer. You have things around lifecycle marketing, follow-ups, rehash, drip campaigns. So like Hatch. You have, I know a really popular one for the smaller companies and larger ones is Company Cam. So you can document all your photos and review them easily with your
Yep.
teammates.
Then what do you got?
You
Lead
know,
Scout for canvassers.
Right.
Easy.
Yeah, exactly. You have some canvassing, you have some like dedicated canvassing CRMs almost like Sales Rabbit and stuff like that. You might do call center coaching with like Balto, for example. Like you said, virtual ride along software like Zero or Rilla. You
Okay.
might, yeah, there's a lot. There's,
That was
I guess,
15, by the way. I'm actually counting and
Make it a
making
list.
notes. There's 15. So again, this
yeah,
is the
yeah.
crux of the issue. It's like, okay, how do I know which one is the right one? How do I know how to choose it? How do I know how to get it integrated? How do I get them to talk to each other? So, okay, and this is what you're going to help people do.
Yes, I think the the way we're going to help, especially anyone from 3 to 10 million or beyond, and that is make things work with what you got, work with what you're used to. So whatever language you speak in, whatever tech stack that you have, we can work with that. And at the same time, if you can show it, as in like if you can like screen share and show the AI what you're doing, it's going to be able to replicate that. So you don't even need to go into drop down menus on Zapier, open things up, or even type anything. All you really need to do is say out loud, like you're talking to someone and showing them on Zoom, like we're doing right now. And if I were to show you, hey, Rich, like this is how I create my daily and weekly snapshots for my clients. And you just literally videotape yourself doing all of that. That is how I believe, and what Rize believes is going to be able to solve a lot of the integration issues. Behind the scenes, it's very technical, what we're trying to accomplish, which is why we've taken so long. But we promise it's worth the wait, and it's very exciting, not just for home improvement. As you said, Rich, you have these problems as a marketing agency yourself, and
So from the 30,000 foot view, and I'm being very careful to ask you a general question, not a specific question here.
yeah.
What have you been doing for the last X number of months? You said it's taken a lot of effort and you're being very deliberate and taking your time. What kinds of things are you doing?
So we are really trying to put three things together. One is an AI assistant. So you can think of the most common application would be just sending a text message to an assistant that is able to help you manage and prioritize tasks towards your AI workforce, all your employees. It also helps you automate some of these manual tasks that we just talked about, where you can show it the manual tasks and this assistant records it, captures the process and is able to replicate it. Then it comes down to an AI data analyst. So what I've seen, especially for smaller companies, is that they do have the appetite to crunch a lot of and build a lot of reports and stuff like that. But the problem is they don't really trust the numbers in their CRM. So they have to like pull all the information out from various different spreadsheets, and all of a sudden you see a screen with like 50 different things open, typically spreadsheet or a doc. And we're doing the hard job of whatever file format you give it. A PDF, maybe it comes from an email and and it's a spreadsheet with multiple different colors. Maybe it's an audio file, right? Whatever it is, you can upload that and from there prompt it just as you will with ChatGPT and say, hey, like I want to analyze my conversion rates by lead source to identify any underperforming vendors currently. So stuff like that, that AI data analyst will be able to do. And it'll be working right out of the box, basically. And the last thing is an AI sales manager, because obviously that sales is the lifeblood of home improvement. And so how does an AI sales manager use a lot of work and collaborate with the data analysts, right, to figure out what are the kind of benchmarks, that the baseline metrics, the KPIs that your company has, so that you can spot trends. So whenever something is moving up or down, you know exactly where you are. And also it's able to figure out, hey, which rep do I assign for the right opportunity based off of my batting order? I want my top closers
What's
to
that
always
software
get two
called? That software
opportunities.
already exists. What's it called?
There's a company called Think Unlimited
That's
that,
it. Think Unlimited.
yeah, that does this, but it's a little bit of a black box, as in you can't configure it. They basically have this AI model that they've trained, and it doesn't really take into account actually any distance. So it's hard for people to find it useful. But I think the thing that we really prioritize on, especially towards assignment and routing, is how do you make that like clockwork? You can simulate tomorrow's routes based off of your batting order, and it leaves an audit trail. So the system continues to get smarter over time and understands whether or not your manager changed an assignment. What was it? Why did they change it? And you kind of have this audit trail, so you can, run into issues like favoritism. Maybe sales reps might complain about the opportunities they're getting, and you're able to actually provide an answer back on, why the data selected that. And I think there's many other things that follow an AI sales manager, but you can also count in virtual ride along. and things like, calculating sales commissioning, which is a headache for and a pain for a lot of folks. But being able to do all of those subtasks as part of kind of this job description of what an AI sales manager does, along with the AI data analyst and the AI assistant, all these things are what we believe is core to an AI growth engine, where you basically it works exactly with what you have, you plug it in, and we're able to get you to a place where, to answer your original question, it's just like, how do I just apply AI everywhere? And not just in my presentation software, not just in, whatever people are using for all the 20 plus different vendors that we've covered.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of this, Rich, I mean, what we've done also, what Vince and I spend a lot of time is talking to people. When anybody reaches out to us, we want to understand their current stack. We want to know what they're doing. We want to try to find ways, because one of the things that you mentioned is, hey, where do I start? And we all heard, this MIT report where 95% of the companies who have implemented AI have seen no tangible ROI from it. And, we want to help people find quick wins. Okay. Tell us what you're doing now. Let's find an area that you think that could be an opportunity. Let's apply it there. And, whether it be through recipes that we create or co-create with them, based on their opinion, not something that we're going to decide for them. Because every business is a little bit different. They all have their uniqueness, and we want to be able to use that to help train the AI specifically for them.
Okay. That's a lot, man.
That's a lot.
Well, we got to land this plane here. We got a limited time frame. I'm going to have you guys back on. I don't know. I'd like to have you as recurring guests on the podcast. Just give us AI updates as time goes on. Be very interested to see once you guys launch at either Yoho and or Top 500. I'll be there, so I'll be able to see it be launched, I guess. But
Awesome.
Very exciting to have Rize coming on board. If people want to learn more about Rize, what do they go to? What is it? Rize.com, Rize.ai? What is it?
Yeah, it's rize.com, rize.com.
Yep.
You can check us out on LinkedIn, connect with us. What started
follow
this whole
Vincent.
thing
He's my
too,
mentor. He's teaching me so much. You can learn as well. I'll share him with the world.
Yeah, we have a video series that we typically don't try to draw, less than 1 minute quick takes on, what we've been observing and seeing and how AI actually practically applies to home improvement. We don't try to sell Rize at all. We're not interested in that. We're really just here to share all the insights that we gather from some of the top home improvement leaders that we've talked to and actually seen them deploy all these different applications like you have seen as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, thanks, guys. Go check these guys out, Rize.com. Follow them on social media, and you'll be hearing more about them in the future. I have no doubt. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
everyone.
Thanks, Rich.
Take care.